Hey, Scuttlebutt listeners. Welcome to episode 240. This week, we're super excited to be welcoming retired Major General James Lukeman to the Scuttlebutt. Major General Lukeman is president and CEO of the Marine Corps Heritage Foundation. To go through his entire career would require a multi-episode documentary series, but needless to say, it's a huge honor to have Major General Lukeman on the show. In this episode, we talk about his upbringing as a Marine son and how, as a chemical engineer, he chose to follow in his father's footsteps to the yellow footprints. We also talk about how the Heritage Foundation supports the National Museum of the Marine Corps and how important it is to maintain pride in the Marine Corps' role in American history, not only among the ranks, but also to raise the awareness of the public. From sponsoring Major League Baseball spring training to the Heritage Foundation annual awards dinner, which will be taking place this Saturday, April 25th at the National Museum of the Marine Corps. His authentic passion and love for the Marine Corps is infectious, and we hope you all enjoy this conversation as much as we did. This is episode 240. Hey, Scuttlebutt listeners, thank you for joining us and your continued support. I'm here with Nancy.
Hey, Vic, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty well. I'm a little sweaty, actually, a little verklempt. For our listeners, we had some technical difficulties. As you all well know, I am an Amtracker, so losing comm at LD is not unfamiliar to me, but very embarrassing, especially considering that our guest today is someone that this should have been working for. But
You handled it with grace and with style.
And with Mike.
And with Mike, our IT guy. Yeah, you took care of business. Thanks, Vic.
But Major General Lukeman, thank you so much for being here today.
Thanks for having me, Vic. And we love Amtrackers. Yes.
Yeah, and I think we talked a little bit at
Did you pay him to say that?
At the groundbreaking. And you've been a huge supporter of the Amphibious Tractor Memorial, which...
I'm excited. It's coming.
Yeah, sir. Thank you so much for all of your support with everything. But normally when we have our guests come in, especially those who are in uniform or have worn the uniform, we normally ask, what was your path to the yellow footprints? But for you, that would be a documentary series. And we've already taken up enough of your time. But sir, one thing I'm really interested in your path, your journey to the Marine Corps, is that you grew up not just in a Marine family, but a very prestigious and well-known Marine family. And then you went and got a degree that takes a 10-pound brain. So how did that all work for you? So some of our other guests talk about, well, I had a sort of rebellious phase for a while. I didn't know what I was going to do, and I just sort of figured, well, Dad did it, so I'll do it. What was the Marine Corps like for you growing up? Because that was your life as a child, right?
Yeah, so yes, like it was. So my dad was a Marine, so I was born at Parris Island because he happened to be assigned to Parris Island when I was born. So that's where I was. But then I grew up in the Marine Corps, so I lived everywhere, Camp Pendleton and Camp Lejeune, Hawaii, here in Northern Virginia. And so I was, doing good in high school. And when it came time to go to college, I was thinking, how do I, pay for college? So I was looking for an ROTC scholarship because I figured, 4 years in the Marine Corps do me some good. I could use some discipline. I mean, in high school, I had long hair, mustache.
Nice.
It was the 70s. So,
you were here in Northern Virginia?
I did. I went to Chantilly High School.
Oh,
wow.
Very cool.
Yeah. So for 3 years anyway, I went to Chantilly High School for 3 years. So got an ROTC scholarship to college, and again, figured I'd do 4 years in the Marine Corps and probably get out. So I did. I was a chemical engineering major because I was good in math and science, and I thought that'd be a good thing to do. So needless to say, I did not ever do anything with that degree. But
no pocket classes for your Marines?
No, not in chemical engineering. Nothing useful there. So my father was still in the Marine Corps when I was commissioned. He ended up retiring in 89 as a lieutenant general. And so we had about 9 years together in the Marine Corps where we were both on active duty at the same time.
Whoa.
But he did a pretty good job
That's
of
awesome.
Trying to
cool.
separate from me so that, people aren't putting two and two together.
Was he encouraging when you said that, you were going to be a Marine, or did he try to dissuade you?
Yeah, no, he didn't try to dissuade me. But it wasn't a given that growing up I was going to be a Marine. That wasn't always a thing.
You had a choice.
I had a choice, sure. And he didn't ever really push it either, but he certainly didn't discourage it. Was grateful when I got an ROTC scholarship. And so, so I was going to get out after 4 years. I really was. I was thinking I would get out, and then things changed, and I liked what I was doing, so I just stayed.
Were you particularly what was it about the Marine Corps? Were you like an athlete growing up? Was it the physicality of it all, or was it the leadership opportunity, community? What was it about the Marine Corps that?
I think physical and Marines were the best.
Okay.
So, growing up in the Marine Corps, if no other service was going to be sufficient, it was the Marine Corps or nothing for me is what it was. So I did get that growing up, was that I understood what the Marine Corps was. And it seemed like a decent, organization to be a part of. But, being the best was what it was about.
And then as a kid, then did you, one of the big pushes when I was coming up was family readiness officers, incorporating more family days, Jane Wayne days, these sorts of things that sort of put more teeth behind the we care about your family, and kind of breaking that. If the Marine Corps wanted you to have a wife, they would have issued you one. What was that like for you, sort of growing up as a kid? Were you constantly?
There was none of that.
Oh.
There was none of that. No, my dad took me to the range, so we went out shooting.
Okay.
At Pendleton. I did orienteering as a kid. That was a sport for Marines at the time. But yeah, there was no family.
Oh, that's so fun. Yeah, interesting. So then, obviously, as you're going through, was it kind of one of these? I know. At least for me, once I hit the 10-year mark, you're like, well, shit, I'm already halfway there. Was it an every 4-year decision for you, or after that 4 years you decided, no, this is what I'll do?
No, after 4 years, It was pretty much I was set.
Okay.
Yeah. After that, I didn't look back. So, it was never a decision unless I wasn't going to get promoted. That was the only way out was to not make the next grade.
And so you went infantry by choice, or?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I wanted to be an infantry officer. That was my first choice. Yeah.
That's really great.
My father was an infantry officer too.
So. Oh, okay. Yeah, that makes sense then.
Yeah.
And you've served internationally, obviously in combat. So then you get out at 40 years.
Yeah.
And then what was that transition like for you, where 4 decades of your life, and now
your whole life.
My whole life,
your whole life,
So from childhood on, I never have not had an ID card.
Yeah.
Right? Except, I guess, until I was 9 or 10 or whenever they give you your first one. So I did get to serve 40 years, which was pretty amazing, and was terrific. 40 years. But yeah, when I left, I was a little concerned. One of the things that happens when you retire is you lose access to the Marine Corps global emails, because that's where all your life is on email.
Right.
Is all the Marine Corps emails is what I was using. So as soon as you retire, that's gone. So you don't even know the emails of people to reach anymore. So there's a little bit of a shock and transition, but being able to come on at the Marine Corps Heritage Foundation pretty quickly was terrific.
Okay.
So I was, I'd retired in July, and started looking, maybe I'll mentor, do a little bit of MSTP thing, and exercise support, teach other younger generals how to do their business, this kind of stuff, which was something I was interested in doing. But what I was getting in response to my queries about that was, we don't need anybody like you right now. So maybe next year, maybe next year. I'm like, okay. So I think
that's new.
I'm thinking, that's right. I'm going to have to get a resume and start networking and get on LinkedIn. I'm going to have to look for a job,
or get a fishing pole, right? And,
that's right.
Was that a thing that you thought, hey, maybe this is a signal to just maybe this is my time to now?
No,
okay.
Because I wasn't ready to stop working.
Okay.
What I was worried about was I'm going to have to find a real job.
Yeah.
But fortunately, what happens in the Marine Corps happens, and I got a call from a friend who said, "Hey, I don't know if you've heard, but they're looking for somebody to take over Marine Corps Heritage Foundation. If you want to put your name in the hat for that, you could do that." And that was perfect, because like I mentioned before the podcast started, my father, when he retired, came and worked at the Marine Corps Association here. And I was a captain at the time, and I remember thinking, wow, what a great deal. He gets to retire but still support the Marine Corps from the outside and stay in touch. That's terrific. And then when it happened to me, it was like deja vu. And so it was a perfect opportunity, and it's been great being over there.
That's awesome. We've really enjoyed our interactions. We had some of your curators on. We talked sort of. I've been really always fascinated and maybe I'm losing the point of going to a museum, but a lot of times when I see the exhibits, I'm like, how did this even come to be? So it was really great to talk like Cater and have
And Chuck, we talked with Chuck, and we've talked with John Bernstein several times.
Yeah, about how an exhibit comes into creation. It's really fascinating stuff. And so that's the outward facing thing. Everybody, drives by the museums. Mm-hmm. You can see it from the freeway. It's beautiful. You get there. And I mean, when we talked before we even started recording, so like a lot of time, probably even active duty Marines who work here at Quantico don't understand that that's not all of it. The museum isn't a thing. So could you sort of unpack a little bit for us, like the differences between what the foundation is and then what the museum is, and how they interact and how they're different?
Yeah, no, terrific. Yeah, so the Marine Corps Heritage Foundation's been around for 45 years, so it's before the museum. And then in the late 90s, when the Marine Corps decided, hey, we really should create a real museum for them. We always had a Marine Corps museum, but it was those leaky, rusty warehouses over by OCS and Larson's Gym, right. And then there was some stuff up at the Navy Yard that nobody could access, and so there was always a museum and always a collection. But Marine Corps decided, no, we should give it a real home, and so a brilliant group of folks came together. General Christmas was in charge of the Marine Corps Heritage Foundation at the time, and they took on the mission of designing and building this magnificent museum for the Marine Corps. So that's what the Heritage Foundation did, and raised the money and designed it and built the museum. And so we built the house and the Marine Corps moved in. So we own the house, but the Marine Corps, everything in it belongs to the Marine Corps. And so those folks you talked about, the curators that design the galleries inside, are all Marine Corps employees. They're museum specialists, but they work for the Marine Corps, not the Marine Corps Heritage Foundation. So we, as the nonprofit, besides building the museum and the park and the playground and the parking lot and all the things at the center that you see there, besides building all that, we support the preservation of history in other ways that the government either can't do or won't do.
Okay.
So we augment the support of the Marine Corps at the museum. But we also can take the story on the road. So we have the museum, which is the central piece, but reaching out to the American people and sharing what the Marine Corps is all about. Not just the history, but the tradition and the culture and all that stuff.
Which is so important, not just for the museum, but for the Marine Corps as
Absolutely.
a whole.
It's support to the Marine Corps and to Marines, who are the ones that appreciate
and
what we have.
And the American people, because the Marine Corps is so just intertwined with all of history of the United States. So people to recognize those things.
Yeah, we like to say that there's 250 years of American history through the eyes of Marines in the museum, which it starts at 1775, goes till today. But it's everything that ever happened in America from a Marine Corps perspective.
Yeah. And when I was doing some internet sleuthing on you, sir, before the show, I came across your interview you did on MLB Network last year. And so could you talk a little about some of that outreach that you guys are doing? Because you were affiliated with the Cactus League during spring training, is that right?
Yeah, I was. So last year, being the 250th anniversary of the Marine Corps last year, the foundation took on the mission of, we need to tell everybody that what the Marine Corps has stood for, what the Marine Corps still stands for, but it has stood for 250 years for this country. So it was about the character and the values. And when you think of a Marine, you think of selfless service and sacrifice and patriotism. And those values are American values. And so in celebration of that 250th anniversary, the foundation said, no, we're going to take this on the road. We'll do things at the museum as well, but we're going to go across the country and remind people of what it means to be a Marine and why they should be proud of their Marine Corps. And proud to be an American. So I became the voice of that in a lot of places. So we had an opportunity in the Cactus League because the mayor of Peoria happens to be a Marine. So
I did not know. That's awesome.
And Peoria, Arizona is home to some of the Cactus League ballparks. So I was having dinner with him, and he said, well, if you want to come out and throw out a first pitch, talk about 250.
That is so cool.
So I went out and I got an opportunity to talk about 250 years of the Marine Corps. We played a video on the Jumbotron, threw out a first pitch, and I had an interview on Major League Baseball Network, part of it.
Did you practice?
I did. You have to.
Yeah.
I don't. Not everybody has to. I had to.
I would have to.
I really want to ask this question because one of the staples that I use as my boys are growing up is I've got to give you the foundation so that if you are ever asked to throw out the first pitch, you don't look like a total horse's ass. And so that is one of the staples I have for them. Like, you've got to know how to throw a baseball. Like, Tom Cruise loved him to death, but you could tell by the way he throws things. And Top Gun in person, when he throws, it's not awesome. You can blow a rotator if he has too many takes on that. But
So yes, I practiced, and yes, it was horrible. I did not bounce it, but it was not a strike. It was a ball. The catcher caught him, but it wasn't a strike. It was, it wasn't a George Bush. I mean, he throws a perfect strike. That guy was amazing. It wasn't that, but I got it across the plate. Yeah. I was challenged by a Marine, of course. Before you go out there, he says, if you bounce it, I'm gonna make you wear an Air Force jersey.
Wow.
So yeah, we didn't bounce it.
Wow. Okay.
And the camera people weren't at any risk of.
No, I didn't hit the mascot.
Well, that's awesome.
But we did. We took that message across the country in a lot of different ways. So we celebrated Marine Corps birthdays with the governors of all 50 states or their representatives. So we sent a letter to all the governors and said, you should do a Marine Corps birthday cake cutting, and we'll help you. So the American Bakers Association got sponsors. We provided cakes to all the states, and everyone had a cake cutting ceremony on or around November 10th.
That is so cool.
And we found out that when you get the governor involved, the press is involved. Mm-hmm. So we had up in Massachusetts, we had the governor down, cut the cake. There's like a whole bunch of cameras. She's saying wonderful words about the Marine Corps' 250th birthday. It happened to be on the pier outside the USS Constitution, where a Marine Corps flag was now flying from the USS Constitution,
Perfect.
which we bought for them, by the way, which is they needed a flag that was 10 feet by 20 feet, and we didn't have one that big, and so we bought one, brought it up there, and ran it up on the Constitution. It was great.
What an amazing year it must have been for you.
Yeah.
It was great.
To be able to go out and give such a great message all over the place, and talk about something so important to you, not just as a Marine, but as an American.
Yeah, it was heartwarming for the response that we got. We did a lot on media as well. We had a public service announcement that played across the country, and lots of articles. We recognized Marines across all 50 states too. We had a program where we were identifying. We said, okay, all 50 states, I need to find a half dozen Marines who've just gone on to do great things. You're a school teacher, you're a police officer, you're a nonprofit person, something, and recognize them, press release, just locally, to try to just generate with people where they were, the public, this is what the Marine Corps is about, and you should be proud of them. So that was last year. It was terrific.
Yeah.
I love that.
What was your involvement with Philadelphia for the actual birthday? I mean, we did a whole build-up on our end as well, but I don't think we've actually talked to anybody. Like, we didn't get an after-action report.
No, I don't think we
So
did.
this is our first time to talk about it in hindsight. So how was Philadelphia?
Yeah, I did not go to Philadelphia for the birthday. I stayed at the museum, which we had 3,000 people. And if you remember, it was a government shutdown.
Furlough, yeah.
It was a government shutdown. And so the museum was closed to the public. And so there was some concern, hey, can we do this? Mm-hmm. We said, okay, we will do this with no government support. So nobody has to get in trouble for violating any kind of whatever. But opened the museum, had 3,000 people, cut the cake. It was great.
I was there. I walked the last 2.5 miles with
LaHue.
Started my
Oh, that's right. That's right.
I did. Yeah. I met him at a gas station on Route 1, which isn't sketchy at all, and walked the last 2.5 miles with him.
Yep. That was terrific.
Yeah. And yeah, you guys, it was a big party when we got there.
It was a big party.
There was even cake.
So yeah, we did that. So I didn't go to Philly. So I didn't participate in the ceremony there. And what we did too is we stayed away from where the Marine Corps was heavy.
Okay.
Because we said, hey, we're going to be we work with the Marine Corps pretty closely on this, and said we're going to be complementary to the Marine Corps, not duplicative. So they had Marine Weeks, different places. We didn't go there. We went other places to try to cover the country.
Smart.
Trying to get everybody. Yeah,
no, that's so cool. One of your other sort of outward-facing or civic engagement is dual-hatted, because you're recognizing folks that are contributing to that messaging about the heritage of the Marine Corps and the reasons to be proud of the Marine Corps. So you're recognizing those folks, but you're holding it, and I'm talking about the awards. Yeah, which I think is a great idea, is that you're celebrating both what you do at the Heritage Foundation and then what people are doing out in the communities.
Yeah, so our annual awards program has been going on for a while. I think before the museum even existed, 40 years or so we've been doing this. But what it's developed into now is this year we're going to give 21 different awards to people who have, it's for journalism, writing, photography, art, videography, digital media as well. So anything dealing with the Marine Corps or serving to preserve and share the Marine Corps story with the public, we recognize the best of that every year. And so last year we did not have an awards ceremony in 2025 because we focused on the 250th instead of the awards. So it actually covers 2 years this year.
Okay.
So we've got a whole bunch, and that's coming up in a couple weeks, where we'll recognize again the best biography that we have judges that judge these categories for us. The best photograph taken, single photograph, the best short form video under an hour, and then long form video. So yeah, it's going to be terrific. So I mean, it's good stuff though. So that the winner of the long form video is the Netflix series Marines.
Okay.
So some of you have probably seen that on TV. That one won the award for that this year. So the director's coming out from Lucky 8, and then we'll recognize him.
That's really cool. Yeah, and you guys have the perfect venue. You do it.
Yeah. So we do it. We have a gala dinner at the museum. Bring all the award recipients and their guests in. Bring the judges in. Open to others to come in. Supporters, Marines. It's a great night.
It is
to celebrate. People doing their part to preserve the Marine Corps story through the arts.
Yeah,
it's an amazing event.
And I didn't appreciate how important it is to preserve the Marine Corps story through the arts before I started this job. I mean, I was a grunt. You go to a museum, look at stuff. Okay, but now I understand how you can connect with people through different ways. Yeah. Whether it's an article, whether it's a photograph, whether it's a piece of art. We give awards for poetry. We give awards for playwright. Having to do with the Marine Corps. So, I mean, these are different ways that people connect with the Marines.
Yeah, and I think the idea of capturing the Marine Corps story through the form of story, through art, really building on that narrative. I think, we talk all the time on this podcast about the strength of story, how narrative really helps engage you so that it's not you're not just in receive mode. A lot of times, as much as I love museums and exhibits and things, the art of the curation is helping craft that so that the person is sort of developing that story on their own. They're seeing how that works.
Yes.
And so to really emphasize that through your awards program and emphasize that art and how narrative matters and the strength of storytelling, I think it's like you said, it's complementary, not duplicitous.
Right.
I think in that way, because a lot of the Marine Corps awards, as you know, sir, like, most pull-ups or, your all sports teams, which are awesome. They're so great, but they're very Marine Corps. And like you said, you don't really appreciate a lot of time what the artistic side of it is doing.
And I think it's also an amazing opportunity to have all those creative people together in one room. I think I've been to the event a few times, and you can feel kind of the electricity in the air, and very often people who work behind a keyboard, it's very solitary work, and you do your work and you put it out there in the world, and you do it because you love it, you're passionate about it, and then to be around other people who do the same thing, it just creates a good feeling, I think, for everybody, and it kind of inspires more creativity, so it just keeps building.
Yeah, it is sort of a snowball in that way.
Yeah, and many of the recipients are Marines, active duty Marines, not just others as well, but active duty Marines. So anybody can submit their work, or somebody can submit work for them to the awards every year, and we have again a series of great professional judges, a group of them that review these things and read the books and the articles. And
well, I think it's really great too that a lot of the folks aren't Marines, and so like you said, so this is their chance now. Even if their project was highly involved in the Marine Corps story, it is a little bit removed. Now they get to come to the museum and be around, like you said, other recipients who are active duty, and there's just this very Marine-ness to the whole thing, and I think that really builds that pride and the
that feeling.
It for sure does.
Yeah.
I can tell you that. I can tell you firsthand it does.
Anytime we get a group in the museum, you can do that. You know, that's the goal. That's why the Marine Corps brings down business leaders, Marine Corps Executive Forum, Wharton School of Business. They come to the museum and go through as well. Because when you get in the museum and somebody is helping you understand what you're seeing as you go through the galleries, it's pretty powerful to get immersed in the Marine Corps, especially when you see other people there, other Marines. It's just like a family reunion every day. So
like an awards presentation or promotion ceremony.
Yes.
When my mother-in-law was here not too long ago, we went down and I thought they brought some of the recruits.
Yes.
Or maybe they're candidates from OCS. But you definitely tell that they were in the entry level portion. But it was really cool for her, who her only exposure to the Marine Corps was, when I married her daughter. But for her to see that and to see these ascending Marines there and seeing their bright eyes and them taking in all of that, I think that was really
for
cool.
the family members of Marines and veterans, the museum's a terrific venue to understand a little more. And it's especially moving when you get veterans who come with their wives, children, grandchildren, and come through. So there's a couple years ago, 3 years ago, I guess, a guy named John Leary, who lives out in California, Vietnam veteran, came. His family wanted to buy him a trip to the museum, so they all came. And so his wife, 2 daughters, grandkids. But what they did, they didn't tell him. They had connected with one of his buddies from Vietnam, who he hadn't seen for a long time, and arranged for him to come down. And they had a surprise meeting out at the park. They went out to see his brick.
No.
And then linked up. So
Wow.
his buddy Dennis Mannion links up with him. So that's super emotional. Then we go through the museum, and the two of them, the 2 Vietnam veterans, are talking as they go through, telling the stories. The families are hearing this for the first time. This is exactly what the museum is made for.
Yeah.
And so
Beautiful.
to bring it full circle, the short form documentary this year is called The Siege at Khe Sanh.
David Neese's project.
Project. The guy who's the subject of it is a guy named Dennis Mannion.
Mm-hmm.
That's who came down with John Leary 3 years ago.
Wow.
Went through the museum. So yeah, it's pretty amazing.
Yeah, I think we're scheduled to sit down and talk with David and Dennis.
He does
the
amazing
morning.
work, doesn't he?
Oh,
I mean, the gift.
Oh, you're going to talk to Dennis too?
We are.
Oh, that's
the morning. Since they're both going to be here, so we've wanted to speak with David since the gift.
Which
Yeah.
you did speak to him. It wasn't recorded.
I didn't see. I wasn't going to out. I wasn't going to out us.
So technical difficulties seem to be a thing.
But that was
Yeah.
a whole Microsoft Teams situation.
That's another emotional event.
Very emotional event.
Unbelievable.
But yeah, so David is such a good guy. He's willing to do a do-over. And since he's going to be in town, we're going to be here in studio on Saturday morning before the awards event.
Well, you asked Dennis
Bring
about
Dennis.
coming through with John Leary 3 years ago.
I definitely will. We were talking a little bit about the show, about before we started recording, about I got my start working in a museum at the National Naval Aviation Museum in Pensacola. And I remember every morning going into work, I mean, it didn't matter what kind of stuff I had in my schedule that day. When I walked in the doors of that museum, and I would go in a side entrance, the museum wasn't open yet, and just being in a museum every day, even though then I'd have to go into our suite of offices where we couldn't actually see the things out on the floor. Just the feeling of being in there. It's been 30 years now, and I still can conjure that up in my mind. Do you have that same thing every day?
Every day. And it's the contrast between when you work at the Pentagon and you park out in North Parking and you look up at the building and then you hang your head and shuffle into work every day, right? I get out of my car in front of the National Museum of the Marine Corps and look up, and it's like, this is beautiful.
Yeah. Oh, it is beautiful.
It's so good.
And then go into the museum, and that's where I spend my day. That's my office. It's amazing. Every day. It's amazing, the feeling. And it's great. Yeah.
Oh, I love it. Love hearing
So
that.
good.
That's great.
Just the creative juices.
Yeah. It does something. It does something. It inspires you. And it's not just the artifacts themselves which tell a story. It's the way your team and the curators have put everything together to help tell that story.
Passion to do that stuff, because you can't just punch a clock like Fred Flintstone, like sound the
At
whistle
the rock
and then
quarry.
slide down the brontosaurus. This is a place you want to. This is where you want to come to work.
Right, and this is why it's so important to have a place like this for veterans, for Marines, for the public, because that is the feeling that you get when you walk into that museum. The folks that designed it were brilliant in how they designed the building and built the building. I don't know how you could possibly improve on that. So we're very fortunate that they did a great job with it.
They really did.
But it's a perfect place for that, and it's so important to preserve for the Marine Corps culture, to preserve that there in the museum. And that's where the relics are of the Marine Corps. It's interesting when you walk through and you see things in the museum. Some are obvious, so the flag that was raised on Mount Suribachi or the Corsair that's in the main gallery. Other things are not so obvious. You work through World War I, and there's a World War I helmet and a 45. And you're okay. Well, if you read the little plaque, that's John Lejeune's helmet. And John Lejeune's 45. It's not just a helmet; it's the helmet,
right.
And that thing belonged to the person that was doing it. It's crazy.
Well, you've been talking about Sergeant Major LeHue. I mean, his CVC suit from Nazaria is in there. It is like, this is stuff that people actually were wearing at the time.
At the time,
yeah,
right. It's the real thing. I tell people everything in the museum is real, and it is. I mean, even the cast figures that are there are real Marines that posed for them.
Howe, actually, we were talking about. He was the bio mock-up for, I think it was the Haiti Marine next to the Humvee.
And Cater is one of the at the FARP, right?
I believe that's right. Yeah.
So they make them hold still. They assume the pose, hold still. They put silicone on their face and shoulders and arms, and they have to hold still for like 20 minutes while it hardens. Put straws up their nose, and then they make a cast of that person.
So cool.
So Stacy Clarity's in there. He was the CO of 3rd LAR on the march up to Baghdad. He's there, standing next to the LAR. So I have to see Stacy's mug every day. But,
do you have a favorite exhibit or a favorite artifact
or even period of Marine Corps history?
Or a favorite period of Marine Corps history that you like to go take a look at?
My favorite exhibit is the Taktong Pass exhibit. So it's Korean War, and it's coming out of Chosin, and it's Fox 27, Captain Barber holding Taktong Pass for 5 days. And that part of the museum, for those that haven't been there, when you go into that area, it's on purpose much colder. It's a cold room, and it's dark, and there's a sequence of events, and the cast figures look like they could come to life in a minute. They look real, and it talks about those Marines holding that pass for 5 days. And as you walk out of that exhibit, Barber lives. He gets shot, but he lives, shot in the hip. As you walk out of the exhibit, on the left-hand side, Barber's coat's there, and a lot of people don't notice it. The jacket that he was wearing at Taktong Pass is there with the bullet hole.
In this way.
I don't think I've ever noticed that.
Yeah.
I'm going to go back and take a look.
Yeah, it's right there. And the bullet hole right in the jacket. It's amazing.
That's really cool.
That's amazing.
I had the privilege once of going through that part of the exhibit with one of the Navy corpsmen who had been there, and it was as part of the Legion of Valor reunion, and I'm trying to remember his name. It just slipped my mind, but he was showing his wife through the exhibit. I was just kind of walking along with them, and he was showing his wife, like, here, this is what I've been talking about all these years. And he was really able to explain it better because you know the maps are on the wall and there are actual physical things that he could connect his story to. But watching him tell the story to her and seeing her then really not finally, that's not the right word, but more fully grasp it and understand was really it was really amazing. It was a beautiful moment to see, and that's because of what you all have there.
Yeah, it is. It's to see the Vietnam veterans come out of the back of the 46 on the hill at 81, and several people again served there, and they talk about it and say you need to put like a tissue dispenser out in the back of that 46 because that place is too emotional. I get all choked up every time I get in there, which happens a lot, because
we came to the media day, and I've been a couple times since, but we came to the media day when you opened up the OIF exhibit, and I didn't realize at the time when I'd heard about the the offset room, how necessary that was. But
the respite room.
Respite room, yeah. I didn't. We only got 80% of the experience. They didn't start pumping in the smells yet.
Yeah. And so it affects different people differently.
Yeah.
And so, some people get a little emotional when they go through and need a place to relax, which is what the respite room is for. And others just decide, I'm not ready to go through that yet.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's so good. It's so good. Well, sir, thank you so much again for taking this time to just share your perspectives and wisdom. Yeah. One thing I will ask is, as obviously your life has been in the Marine Corps. You are now helping share the Marine Corps story. What are some of the things that you would, if we were in a room with young lieutenants and privates and PFCs, this emerging generation of Marines, what are some of the things that you would want to impart upon them or really emphasize to them as they are beginning their careers in this, fairly unpredictable world that we're in right now? Yeah,
well, just understanding that you've joined an organization that has been around for 250 years, going to be around for another 250 years. It's an organization that's bigger than you. So there's a standard to live up to that is the Marine Corps standard. And you've earned the title to be a part of that club. One of the quotes inside the museum, come on, you sons of bitches, you want to live forever, a Dan Daly quote from World War I. And you read it that way. But when I read it, I think of it, if you die with the Marines, you will live forever. You're part of that long line of Marines that have gone on forever and will go on to the future. So those young Marines, you're part of something bigger than yourself. So always do the best you can, and just be proud of who you are.
That's awesome. Well, sir, thank you so much for ending us on that. That's beautiful.
And before we close out, I have this. This is my trademarked. I'm gonna get it trademarked. My trademark question.
Raison d'être. At least for being on the show.
Sure. What was your? Well, I normally ask, what was your best day in the Marine Corps? But I want to put a little twist on that, and I would like to ask, what was your best day at the National Museum of the Marine Corps?
Nice. Well, the easy answer is every day is the best day at the National Museum of the Marine Corps today. But I'll tell you, that time I went through with John Leary and Dennis Mannion, I remember that day. Anytime we can get the veterans in and go through with them and hear their stories, that's a terrific day in the museum. And that happens all the time.
Love it.
Yeah.
Love it.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
That's great.
Thanks for sharing that.
Thank you.
Well, thank you for being here, sir. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Hey, Marta, how you doing?
Good, Vic. What's going on?
Oh, not too much. I heard through, a little birdie told me that we're into modern day Marine season. Actually, let me say, it wasn't a bird because it's way too cold outside for a bird to actually, but maybe I got a tweet or something. I just get a disconnect. But yeah, we're in modern day Marine season now, right?
We are in modern day Marine season. If I actually woke up last night, true story. I woke up last night thinking about my to-do list for modern day Marine. So, it's just so your listeners know, I'm the Marine Corps Association's lead planner for modern day Marine. And the to-do list in my brain is on constant. So I woke up. So that's how I know. Birdies or no birdies, I know because I woke up in the middle of the night sort of dreading my to-do list for modern day Marine. It's right around the corner and we are pumped.
Yeah, your brain is just one really long PowerPoint presentation. You're just thinking in slide decks at this point.
So between now and Showtime, Expo time on April 28th this year, that's pretty much what I'm going to be thinking about. Well, and you're going to be there too. Scuttlebutt's going to be there.
Sure are. Yeah, no, this is it's so rad. I love the way that Emerald has set us up. The location is great. Obviously, being on the showroom floor for something, that what the Marine Corps is doing here, the Marine Corps Association, the Marine Corps League, everything that's coming together. There's an audible and an emotional buzz from just being on the floor. So it's so fun. And just being able to talk to the guests that we have and just snatch some people off the showroom floor, like, hey, you look interesting. Let's have a chin wag or whatever. So fun. Yeah.
Yeah, that's Yeah. So, to your Scuttlebutt listeners, swing by the Scuttlebutt podcast booth and maybe you'll be interviewed. Maybe Vic will snatch you up.
Yeah, if you make eye contact, there's a good chance you're getting on the microphone. So we're looking at April 28th through May 1st. Is that correct?
Through April 30th.
30th.
It's a
Okay.
3-day, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday at the Walter E. Washington Convention Center. And, we're going to this is our 5th year up in DC. So if you're an old crusty Marine, you might remember the muddy boot days down. You don't even have to be that old to remember the old muddy boot days down in Quantico. But we moved up to the convention center 5 years ago, and we haven't looked back. It's been fantastic. We're able to do so much more with that space that it's really remarkable. This year we have about 7 additional conferences and symposia adjacent to modern day Marine. So we have, we have the LogComs hosting an AI symposium and a hackathon. We have UAS, counter UAS symposium that's interacting with symposia. We have the Reserve Leadership Collective that is gathering reserve officers to talk about the future of the reserves. I mean, it's really becoming what we envisioned it to be when the commandant moved it up there, which is a place for learning and thinking and future thought. It really truly is doing that. I'm so excited. 5 stages.
Yeah.
We've got it's great.
The amount of Tetris skill that went into putting the showroom floor together is really impressive. And all of the events are so cool. Key leader engagements, like you said, all of the symposiums, the events, and there's a new term now for what we were doing.
Small Business Industry Day, and now it's Marine Corps. Yeah, it's contracts industry day. You know what's really great about it is that we have something for everyone. If you're a young Marine officer or a young Marine just kind of getting into it and wondering, where you want to go with your MOS, we probably have something on the floor for you to handle and explore, right? We have, or if you want to know how to handle your career, we've got Manpower and Reserve Affairs there. They're going to, they're exhibiting. If you're wondering about the future of the Marine Corps strategically, we've got briefs for that. I mean, we really are this nexus of information for Marines. And then, leaders, senior leaders, and defense industry partners. I mean, that's where they go and they show off their wares and they say, hey, look, you wanted this widget with this little doodad. That's the extent of my.
No, that's technical. I think that's right out of a lot of the,
out of the manuals. Yeah. In fact, yes, the widget with the doodad. I'm married to an active duty Marine and he loves to go because, the briefs alone are great. Like you'll hear from EWS students, command and staff students, staff and CI County students. They will come and do their TED Talks on their research projects. It's great information. It's phenomenal all the way around. I'm so excited.
Yeah.
Anxious, but excited.
And for all of those who are just as excited as us, we can start registering now, right?
Holy cow. Yes. Registration's open, and let me tell you, if you've ever been to Modern Day Marine and have registered before, we have an entirely new experience for you. It is so smooth and seamless. You're going to love it. So yeah, registration's open now. Get on there and register. We'd love to see you.
And if you're active duty, it's free of charge, right?
Free of charge. Free to active duty and military spouses.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking. The price is right. Price is right.
Free 99.
That's right. So, come on. Walter E. Washington Convention Center in D.C., April 28th through the 30th. And, come say hi. I'll be there. So come by the booth and introduce yourself.
Thanks, Vic. Yeah, sounds great. See you then.
See you then. Scuttlebutt is a production of the Marine Corps Association. You have heard the voices or contributions from Major Vic Rubel, USMC retired, Nancy Litchman, William Truding, and our guest. Ty Frazier is the editor, sound engineer, and technical producer. The Marine Corps Association is not an agency of the U.S. government. The opinions expressed in this episode are the personal views of the participants and do not reflect the official position of the United States Marine Corps, the Department of Defense, or the Marine Corps Association.